a sweater, a white sock, some rubber bands, some embellishments, some eyes, a dowel rod for the nose, some blush for the cheeks, some thread, some embroidery floss for the scarf and the hat, some rice, some stuffing, a hot glue gun, glue sticks, a pair of clippers, a pair of scissors. So I will take a quick break and I'll be right back to show you how to make the snowman. Okay, I'm back. So you're going to take your sock and you're going to dump the rice into the sock. When you have all the rice in there, then you're going to add stuffing. You're going to fill the sock all the way to the top or the opening of the sock with stuffing. And if your stuffing is clumpy, you want to pull it apart so it makes it nice and fluffy. Now you're going to take a rubber band. You're going to take the opening of the sock, gather it, and put a rubber band around it to secure it so it is closed. Next, you're going to take a piece of string. I used yarn, wrapped it around a few times to secure the rubber band just in case it breaks. And I do a surgeon's knot where I wrap it around 3 times and then I pull it. Then I do a regular knot, cut the excess, do not cut the knot, and you can cut that little bit excess off of the sock just so you don't cut your rubber band and your string. Then we're going to take some more string, the yarn, and we're going to section off for the head and the body. So I do about probably 2/3 of the sock is the body, and try not to wrap it too tight for the neck. And when you're picking out your socks, my sock was kind of thin, and I will show you later on in the video, but it should be okay. The rice will not come out of it. So if you buy a small sock, you're going to have a smaller snowman. My socks are from the Dollar Tree and they can stretch a lot. So now we're going to take our sweater and we are going to use the sleeve. And as you'll see here in a minute, I end up switching sweaters. I ended up finding 2 sweaters at a thrift store that were the same. And the sweater that you're seeing now, I had cut the cuff off. So I have the other sweater that has both of the cuffs on the sleeve. So the cuff, and we're going to cut this. This is going to be like the little coat for the snowman. We're going to cut it right about there on the bottom so you can see some of the bottom of the snowman. And then we will glue it around the neck when we get it on. And make sure that when you're picking out your sweaters, that the sleeve stretches so you can get it over the snowman. And make sure the seam is in the back where we close the opening. And then you're going to put this on. And like I said, you need to have a sleeve that stretches. So if you look at your thrift stores and rummage sales in the summer, you can find some great sweaters and some great deals, especially at rummage sales. So now I fold the edge of the cuff over to make like a collar. And you want to be careful with the bottom as it will unravel. And we will glue that down later. So now I'm taking some glue and going around the neck of the snowman just to secure that in place. Now we're going to take the rest of the sleeve, and we're going to cut about 9 inches. If you have to use the other part of the sleeve, you can. Otherwise, if you need to, you can use like the rest, like the body of the sweater where the ribbing is down by the waist, but then you would either have to sew it or hot glue to make a hat, to make a tube. So we're going to take our yarn or string, wrap it around. This is going to be the top. You're going to gather the top of the hat, and you're going to wrap it around a few times and tighten it and pull it, and then you're going to tie it in a knot. If you do the surgeon's knot the first time, wrap it around 2-3 times, and it secures it. And then make another knot, and I'm just checking my camera to make sure you guys can see. And then cut the rest of the excess of that yarn off, or thread, string. And then we're going to cut some of this bulk off the top there. Be careful not to cut too close to the thread. Now we're going to take our snowman. We're going to turn our hat right side out, and then just poke that where we gathered it up. That is going to be the top of the hat. The seam is going to go in the back where we gathered it on the top of the head of the snowman. You're going to put this on, and I had some loose threads, so I had to cut them off. And then you're just going to roll that part up for the brim of his hat. And then we are going to glue it and secure it in place. So now we are going to tie off the top of the hat. So I have some lace that I got at the Dollar Tree, some jute, some embroidery floss, and some piece of yarn. And I'm just going to gather it all together and wrap it around the top of the hat. And I'm just going to tie it in a knot and then cut my ends off. And it took me a couple of times because I had to get all my threads straight and cut my excess off, so I was able to tie it. And so you can use anything to embellish the top of your hat, to tie it off. If you want to make a pom-pom, you can do that also. And then just cut that excess off. And make sure your hat is adjusted and fit. And then we're going to glue the hat. You're going to start in the back and then just glue underneath. I put the glue right on the snowman head and then secure it. So now we're going to make the scarf, and I am using the same lace that I used around the top of the hat. I have about 3 strands of embroidery floss together, and I'm just weaving it in and out of this lace because there's holes at the top of it. So I just thought it made a very cute scarf to go for the snowman. Now you're going to cut the ends of the excess embroidery floss off, and what I did with each end is I took a little glue and glued those ends to that end of that ribbon so that they would not come on raveled or pull out. And you're going to take your lace or your scarf, whatever you're using to use for a scarf, wrap it around the snowman's neck. I just tied it once and then flipped over my ends, got them the way I wanted, and put a little dab of glue, and that will hold it. So you can use anything that you have for a scarf. So now I'm going to show you how I make these little, it's not a bow, it's just a little grouping of strings and ribbons that I use, and I tie it in a knot, and then I tie the ends to the length that I want. And I have used them under buttons, under flowers, and they turn out really cute. I usually use like 2 or 3 different colors of thread or string or embroidery floss. And I'm going to tie another one. I'm going to put it up by the brim of the hat. And I'm going to also put up there a couple of flowers. So now I'm going to show you how I put the eyes on. And these are half beads. I am not sure what millimeters. They're kind of small. I just take and pick it up with my tweezers and then put it on the placement of where I want the eyes to be. Now I'm going to take some blush, and I am going to just blush the cheeks Sometimes if you're using, mine is kind of dark, so you can tap off the excess first and then blush on your cheeks. And you can get blush at the Dollar Tree. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to sharpen a dowel rod with a pencil sharpener. And I'm going to use this. This is going to be the nose. Then when you get done sharpening it to a decent point, I take a nail file and I'm going to file the ridge off that you have when you sharpen something with a pencil sharpener. So we can kind of blend that in. And then after we get that all smooth and get that ridge, then I'm just going to take an orange Sharpie marker. And I was filming this and my son was home and my paints were in the bedroom and he was sleeping. So that's why I ended up using a Sharpie marker. It was probably a little darker orange than I wanted because I'm doing it on wood. But you can also use paint, and I would let it dry first. Now I'm taking wire cutters and I'm working my way around the dowel rod and trying to cut it that way because the first time I did it, it split the piece. And then I just filed where I cut it and just took my marker and touched up the edges. And I'm using a Sharpie pen and just adding some black marks for the nose to make it more realistic. Take a little bit of hot glue and then glue it right between the eyes, just a little bit below. And I did not add a mouth or anything. Now I'm taking a little hot glue and going under that bottom part of their little coat just to glue that down. And you have to be careful with those edges from the sweater because they will fray. And then you can see the rice kind of through the sock there like I was talking about earlier. So make sure you look at your socks, but it should be okay. So now I'm going to add buttons to the front of the snowman. And I just took some of the same embroidery floss I was using throughout the scarf and the tie on the hat. And I just put it through the back of the button, tied the front of it, and then just glued them both on to the front of the snowman. You can use 2 or 3 buttons. Use what you have. If you have any rhinestones, you could use rhinestones. On one of my snowmen, I put a heart button also. So now I'm going to take some of these ribbon roses that I have. I found them at a thrift store. And I'm going to just glue a couple of those on to the hat along with the little knotted tie. I'm not sure what to call it. But I prefer to use those more, it seems like, than a bow. And then I just took a couple of these little stamens that I bought at the Hobby Lobby in the wedding section and put 3 of those in the top of the roses. And then we are done with our snowman. I love using sweaters in my gnomes and my crafts. For me, sweaters are a great way to embellish. For this gnome, I used jute and I just braided it. I tied the ends and so I could fringe it, so I just tied it with some other jute. Put some buttons, did the hat the same. This one, I did the hat a little different. I put jute around for the scarf. And I would love for you guys to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much if you already have. Hit that subscribe button, and when you click on the bell, that will notify you each time I upload a new video. Thank you guys for joining me today. I love you. Bye-bye.